With rumours flying around the internet that Prince Harry and Meghan Markle's marriage is in trouble, so too come the stories that potentially the king has custody and control over their children. Indeed, it's reported in many different places that the reigning monarch has essentially legal custody over all of their minors and heirs, including and typically the grandchildren, or so these stories go. And naturally, with rumours flying around about potential trouble between Harry and Meghan, many questions come up as to what will happen to the children. Now, I've mentioned in previous videos that if that marriage were to break up, one of the first things that they are probably going to have disputes about is where the children live, who has custody of them, who spends time with them, how they travel, and all of these kind of things. And then obviously that goes hand in hand with these rumours that the reigning monarch has legal custody and control over those children and thus can just decide where they live, how they travel, and what they do. However, with a little bit of deeper research, there is actually an underlying story and a bit of a history lesson to this. So this might be quite interesting. So this all has to do with royal prerogative, which we'll cover in more detail in another video and perhaps over on our Art, Media and Law channel with Alan Robertshaw. So make sure you subscribe there for that. But in brief, I'm going to go over where this idea comes from, where this bit of not quite law, but the idea of law comes from that gives or doesn't give the reigning monarch control over these children. Well, this dates back to 1717 and King George I and his son, George II, because they weren't exactly on the best of terms. So one of the issues that they argued about quite a lot was over the parenting skills of young George. And with concerns over the future of the monarchy, George I, he decided to create what was called the Grand Opinion for the Prerogative Concerning the Royal Family, and essentially that was thought of as law. And under this law, the king then technically became the legal guardian of those grandchildren and had the final say and any overriding and ruling say on their education and marriages, and presumably all sorts of other things, so that the king could have a control on what was happening, because of course exercising parental responsibility is a relatively important task. And as far-reaching and as powerful as this grand opinion for the prerogative concerning the royal family as a royal prerogative sounded, it was not an act of parliament, and it isn't an act of parliament. Although we still think about it today, it is not an act of parliament that has anything really to do with the monarchy of today, and so essentially would not really hold up legally. So whilst this is still thought of as a law of sorts, and many people still report it as giving the reigning monarch, and regardless of how likely or unlikely a reigning monarch is to actually try to exercise that power, it is not really likely to hold up legally in any event. It does beg the question, however, as to whether that played a part in the decision for them to move out of the UK, for fear that this may have an impact on their children. Who knows? And of course it stands to reason that other members of the royal family would have something to say about where those children live if there was a separation, which seems to be rumoured, and although it seems to be that the rumour always comes from a source close to them, or the spokesperson, or a friend, or something like that. So one wonders how true that rumour really is, and if there really is trouble in the marriage. And if there is trouble in the marriage, then from experience, as I said, the first question and probably dispute is going to be where those children live. And whilst other members of the royal family are doubtless going to want to have some say in where the children live and how they move and how frequently they move back and forth between the US and the UK, the rumours that suggest that there is this law that gives the reigning monarch absolute control over those children is probably not going to have any real effect. There is, however, a fantastic article about exactly this issue with a lot more of the history, a lot more discussion about other members of the royal family and things like that. So I will link that in the description below as well, so you can go and read that. But I thought that was an interesting bit of trivia for a Saturday morning. So I hope you enjoyed that. I hope it's interesting. Please hit the like button and subscribe, because around 60% of you still don't subscribe. I know you watch. I can see you there. Well, I can't, but you know what I mean. I can see you in the statistics. So please subscribe. I really appreciate that. I love helping you to understand law. And in the meantime, thank you for watching.